D&D and role-playing games like it have a core gameplay loop, and this is heavily simplified, but it's the DM describes a scene, the players ask the DM about the scene, the players roll to see if they accomplish something, they succeed or fail, and this changes the scene in some way, then repeat. The DM describes the scene. This is the core loop of D&D, but there are other loops on a bigger scale that you can use. Loops to make sure the players are getting a fun, varied experience, loops that make the players feel satisfied, and loops that make them come back week after week. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a few of my favorites. First, I want to talk about the social exploration combat loop. And this video is just about the gameplay side of things, not about the narrative or story. That video came out last week. So the social exploration combat loop is as simple as it sounds. It starts with a social encounter. Maybe your players are in a town gathering information. Maybe they find the information and get sent out to kill a monster in the woods. Next is exploration encounters. Conflict the players need to overcome while walking in the woods. Maybe rough terrain, maybe traps. Then a conflict encounter. The players fight the monster, then after that, the players return to town to start social encounters again. Gameplay loop. Bear in mind what I'm talking about here is not set in stone. You can move this around as you see fit, or just not do the exploration part, for example. But as a place to start, a blank canvas, it can be useful to prepare and run games like this, going from one D&D pillar to the next in a cycle. Brennal Lee Mulligan uses a similar cycle, only a lot more extreme. Normally you would do a full cycle, social exploration combat, in one session. But in certain Dimension 20 shows, Brennan will full on have an entire session made up of social and exploration encounters, then a full session of combat. Though of course this structure may have been caused by the fact it's a production and it's easier to run that way. Of course I'm aware of that, so are most of the viewers. Get out the comments. Also, bear in mind, this way of thinking can also get in the way of a story. So go where the story would naturally go next. If a combat is likely to lead to a social encounter, and the social encounter should probably lead to another combat depending on what choices the players make, go with that flow. But if the next section is not always obvious, falling back on the social exploration combat gameplay loop can really be helpful. But that is just one D&D gameplay loop in its simplest form. There are many other loops that don't just make prepping and running your sessions easier, because you just keep doing the same loops, but also make sure that your players are engaged and feel rewarded after every session. Also, this video is sponsored by Describe, the perfect D&D companion. You get inspiration and descriptions for NPCs, spells, and locations, plus gorgeous maps that will elevate your game to the next level. And with Opus, Describe's audio web app, you get 7,000 AI-free music tracks, sound effects, and ambiances from any winning composers. Sorry, a cat jumped on me. You can also use your own audio, mix tracks, fade in ambience, really pull your players in atmospherically. It's so damn cool, and it is all from your browser. Check out Describe and Opus today, the link's in the description, and thanks Describe for sponsoring this video. Which brings me to a big part of a gameplay loop, the reward. Money, loot, gear, story, and plot progression. Even just giving out heroic inspiration, but we'll get to that in a second. Every time the players play the game in a way that the table enjoys, you should reward them. Money and loot is the easiest one to get your head around. Whenever the players explore an area or defeat a bad guy, you can just give them things. And over time, they get more money or more powerful loot and gear. Also within this loop is giving players something to spend money on. Maybe potions or mounts or traveling to a new area. That way the money gets earned, then spent. The oldest gameplay loop of all, capitalism. And the way you bring this into your games in a meaningful way is to make sure you have a good economy. Players should get currency often, but also feel the need to spend it often. Having the story making your players move great distances fast is a good way to get them to spend money. Oh no, the bad guy fled to another continent. Guess the party has to hire an airship. That's not cheap, but it is fun. Or they need to get to the south fast. The players will need to buy horses or take a wagon. That ain't cheap. Now, they could go to those places more slowly and cheaply. You don't want your players to feel railroaded, but those should have story consequences, and you should make those consequences clear before your players set off traveling. So another great way to get your players to spend money is by not giving out magic items or powerful weapons or armor as loot. Now, this is for some tables and not for others, but recently I've pretty much been giving out solely money as loot, or items that can be sold for money. And then I allow my players to go into a magic item store or weapons and armor stores often to buy exactly what they want. Anything I would have given out as loot is just in the store with a price and some kind of insane security system. That way the gameplay loop really is get loot, go to store, buy what you want, go get more loot. And honestly, the best way I've found of doing this is just handing out a printout with all the items for sale and their prices. The players can all peruse their papers while they roleplay with me, the shopkeeper, and it feels a bit like a video game merchant. And then you can roleplay the merchant if you want to tell them about each item. But this way, they get a chance to see if they want to, say, save up for a particular item or buy items for friends. And of course, the easiest way to get players to spend money is to make combat harder. Just a little bit. Just enough so that the players use health potions more. Then put lots of places where they can buy health potions around, so they're in the fun gameplay loop of buying health potions, taking damage from an enemy, drinking health potions, defeating the enemy and getting loot, and then buying more health potions. Also guys, if you enjoy this kind of content, please subscribe to the channel. My plan is to hit 75k subscribers by the end of the year, and it's not looking too likely right now, but with your help, I think I can do it. Cheers. Okay, so I think one of the most overlooked and simplest gameplay loops out there is heroic inspiration. You can hand this out to your players whenever you want, and it allows them to reroll any dice. Once they use the inspiration, they lose it, and you can only hold one at a time. It is a get out of jail free card for bad rolls. So the players play the game, do something the table likes, you give them heroic inspiration. They spend a heroic inspiration, and you do the same thing all over again. Some examples of when a GM can give out heroic inspiration are for great role-playing moments, memorable heroic moments, a reward for doing something fantastic, or really just leaning into the genre and vibe of the story. But you can give out inspiration for anything you want. It is a gameplay loop that keeps pulling players back in to playing great D&D over and over again. I do good thing, I get inspiration. I spend inspiration, I do good thing. But there's also one big gameplay loop built into D&D and other TTRPGs like Daggerheart, leveling up. Now I use milestone leveling up, so my players level up when they complete certain objectives and progress the story. But I've also noticed leveling up the players too fast or too slowly can kind of be a bummer. And that's because the players want to feel like they've played around with new abilities inside and outside of combat and tested just how powerful they've become. For me, that looks like anywhere between 4 and 8 sessions per level up. It may look different for you, but I like giving players a mix of social and exploration encounters, as well as like 3 big combats and a couple of small ones before they level up. Obviously, this is just talking about giving them a variety of gameplay that allows them to feel like they've spent enough time at a character level that they get comfortable with it. Outside of just the gameplay, you'll need to push the story forward as well, and leave room for them to push the story forward. But leveling up is a fantastic gameplay loop that really, on the face of it, changes the way their characters play, maybe very minimally sometimes, gives the players a chance to get used to it, maybe bored of it, and then the level up happens again and it changes the way they play again. Level ups in particular are a great D&D gameplay loop because it ticks all the boxes. It is a reward, it changes how the game is played, and immediately after one level up, the players start moving to the next. It is both a reward and it sets a new goal. Now I want to talk about one of the most famous video games ever made for a second, because I think it actually has a lot in common with sandbox style D&D, Minecraft. It is a massively open, you can do anything you want game that's built on a ton of different smaller mechanics that has multiple gameplay loops all thrown together. And it covers a lot talked about in this video so far. There is a main story, you level up, you explore, and you build bases, and you can do it all with friends. But the real reason I want to talk about Minecraft in particular is because you can play around with just the gameplay loops you want. If you don't want to concentrate on base building or leveling up, you don't have to. But if you wanted to make it your entire game, you could do that too. Or you wanted to switch up entirely what you were doing, that's an option too. The freedom to just do what brings you joy and ignore the rest of the game is truly amazing. And you can do this in D&D too. As a GM, you can find out what you like doing and what your players like doing and what you don't like doing, and then just concentrate on the good stuff. But what's the best way to find out what gameplay loops your players like doing and what they don't like doing? Well, like Minecraft, you just have to give them a taste of everything at first. See what sticks. Then just let your players know at any point they can switch it up. If you're playing a sandbox game like this, you can do things like have quest boards that always have quests on them. You could have rumors floating around, mysteries to solve, multiple adventure hooks, and let the players decide what they want to do when they want to do it. Okay, the next gameplay loop I want to talk about is home bases. In D&D 2024, they are known as bastions, but I think that system is actually unnecessarily complex for most tables out there. I found that if you just allow players to rent or buy a home and upgrade it over time, noting how the place looks at any given moment, that will get the players to spend their PC's currency on those improvements. And you can tie in mechanical benefits too, such as reputation in the town, or better defenses, or advantage on making potions or weapons if they have the right equipment. I do think home bases and bastions in general are for another video though. And finally, the most simple gameplay loop in D&D is the hook adventure progression that leads to another hook. Now, we spoke about the many ways we can handle progression, but how do you make sure you hook all the players every time? Well, Deborah Ann Woll has a great strategy where every quest she sends her players on, she puts in 3 hooks. An emotional hook, a money hook, and a plot hook. The emotional hook pulls on her players' heartstrings. Maybe it involves an NPC they love, or maybe it's connected with their backstories. There's the money hook, which is exactly what it sounds like. If the players do this, they get some kind of reward their player characters can use in the future. And a plot hook. This quest is tied in with an overarching story that will progress the whole game. Using 3 hooks pretty much guarantee every player character will have a reason to go on this quest, adventure or journey. Then they go on the journey, get their reward, and you can hook them with another one. Now, there are more gameplay loops out there, but a lot of them have more to do with the story and the narrative that keep prep time low and player engagement high. But to really get your head around them, you'll have to check out this video here. Thank you for watching.